Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is our series on different types of testing, and this first video we're going to be covering functional testing, a specific branch of it, or groups of branches of it, I guess you could say. Today we're talking about positive testing, negative testing, and boundary value analysis. So what is positive, negative testing, boundary value? What do those words mean? So essentially, like we said, functional testing is a testing to ensure that the application works, that it takes the inputs it's supposed to take, that it works the way it's supposed to work. Positive testing is essentially making sure that it takes values that it's supposed to take. Negative testing is making sure that it takes that the application product does not take values that it's not supposed to take. And boundary value analysis is essentially the concept of the divide between the two. Where's the limit between positive and negative testing? So we can talk about the theory all we want to, but the most important part is that we understand the application of this specific concept. So we're going to explain it with a simple example. So if, for example, I'm creating some kind of application that manages something that has specific users and things like that, I want to test the login screen, the login function, the feature of logging in to make sure that it's working correctly. So I want to run some functional testing on it, specifically positive and negative testing. So a positive test case that I could come up with to test that is, for example, ensure that with the correct username and a correct password that I have the ability to log in, right? That would be the simple positive test. Negative testing is usually bigger than positive testing because there are generally more things that shouldn't work than what should work. So with the negative testing, for that specific example, the login screen, it would, like, negative test cases would be something like, if I have a correct username and incorrect password, don't log me in. If I have an incorrect username and a correct password, don't log me in. If I have an incorrect username and an incorrect password, don't log me in. If I leave the username field blank and I type something in the password field, don't log me in. If I type something in the username field and type nothing in the password field, don't log me in. If I leave both of them blank, don't log me in. Things like that. I think those are all the possible combinations for that specific instance. You can have similar ideas exist with, like, registration. So, like, I have a platform like Facebook or whatever, right? And I'm registering for an account, and it's time to pick a username or password. So for Facebook, it, like, I think the minimum, like, no, that's not. Facebook is a bad example. Let's use, like, a forum site. So a site or an application that's like a forum where you log in, you have a username, you have a password, right? And the username can be anything. So for this specific hypothetical forum, the minimum amount of characters for your username is 3, and the maximum is 12, right? So that is essentially that boundary value analysis. So we ensure that the minimum is 3, the maximum is 12. So positive testing would be trying to create an account on the forum with usernames between 3 to 12 characters, and you could test from 4 to 12. Although if 4 works and 12 works, then you can assume that all the values in between work as well. That's just how things work in the testing world. There's a specific term for it that I can't remember right now, but that's essentially how that works. If the minimum is 3, the maximum is 12, and if 3 works and if 12 works, then everything in between should also works. Whereas So the negative testing side of that is using 2 or 1 characters. And I think those you actually have to test individually. Although once you get to the other side of that, things beyond 12, then if you assume 13 doesn't, if 13 doesn't work, and like 100 doesn't work, then like the values in between also shouldn't work. So it's the way programming works. It's you should rarely ever assume things, but if you do, there's kind of a window where you can assume some things. We may talk about this in further detail in another video, but that's just the basic concept of that. Positive testing, making sure things work. Negative testing, making sure that things that are not supposed to work don't work. And the boundary value analysis, which is the border between the two. So there aren't really any tools that are used for these things. There's not like a specific like software that you use for positive testing or negative testing. It's just about the implementation of those things. So you can write manual tests for them. You can write automated tests for them. You create test cases and things like that based off of them. That, in my opinion, that pretty much explains everything about the two. Feel free to comment if you have any questions. There will be more videos covering the rest of the functional testing types, and then after we're done with those, we're going to move into the non-functional types. So thank you for sticking with me. This was a pretty short video, so there wasn't really too much to cover. Like I said, while we're already doing theory, the theory is pretty simple. I don't want to overcomplicate things, so it's important to understand that it's important to get that we just, discuss the terms and understand what the specific terminology means and things like that. So thanks for watching. End the line, guys. See you next time.